Surely you have heard it before. The proverb, raise crows and they will gouge out your eyes, encapsulates a profound truth, highlighting the potential consequences of certain actions in parenting. Mistakes made in the upbringing of children can have significant repercussions, sometimes leading to dire outcomes. This reality is exemplified in the criminal case we'll discuss today, referred to as the grilled parent cook. In March 2013, a gruesome crime took place in Hong Kong, a nation known for its unique culinary offerings. The authorities made a shocking revelation that a dish, uncommon in the region, was prepared using human flesh. However, this is not the most terrifying aspect of the case. It involves a man named Henry Chau.
In other news, a man found guilty of murdering and dismembering his elderly parents has been sentenced to life in prison.
In passing down sentence, a high court judge described Henry Chau as a cold-blooded man and a very dangerous person,
who made the decision to murder his own parents and then proceeded to cook their bodies. Henry Chau, born on June 7, 1983, was 29 years old when he decided to commit this terrible crime. According to friends, Henry had been, quote, living in his own world since childhood, always doing as he pleased without shouldering any responsibilities. His parents continued to support him even into adulthood. However, despite this, he harbored a deep resentment toward his parents. They had high expectations for him, pushing him to excel academically and professionally, which prevented him from pursuing his true desires. While his friends believed that Chau lived freely, it was merely a facade. Henry had devised a method to conceal the expectations set by his parents. Despite pursuing a career as a pianist, he harbored a dislike for this path and harbored resentment toward his parents for compelling him to learn the piano during his early education. It's possible that his parents were unaware of their son's discontent in living out their aspirations rather than his own, a situation that gradually led to emotional distress. This distress manifested itself during his teenage years in high school, as he grew weary of conforming to his parents' envisioned lifestyle for him. Consequently, he began experiencing emotional difficulties that impacted his academic performance. His withdrawal from social interactions made it challenging for him to connect with his peers, and his emotional state was so fragile that he failed to pass the Hong Kong Certificate of Education examination. From this perspective, the parents demonstrated a lack of consideration for their son's emotions by prioritizing education over his welfare. Consequently, when he did not succeed in completing high school in his home country, they opted to send him to Australia for further studies. This decision was made with the understanding that the young man needed to obtain a degree, even if it meant his departure from his home and his homeland. His experience in Australia as an international student with distinct physical features exacerbated his emotional challenges, leading to discrimination, harassment, and intimidation. He faced frequent physical assaults by individuals of African descent, which hindered his adaptation to the Australian school environment. Consequently, the educational institution compelled him to discontinue his studies, prompting his return to Hong Kong. In an attempt to deceive his parents, he falsely claimed to have graduated. However, the truth eventually surfaced, compelling his parents to insist on his education and career advancement. Subsequently, he enrolled at the University of Hong Kong, where, despite his efforts, he encountered academic setbacks similar to his previous experience. Evidently, he did not possess a natural aptitude for academic pursuits. However, he successfully carved out a niche in the realm of online video games, where he found a sense of belonging. This virtual space became the one domain where he held significance, earning the respect of numerous individuals through his gaming prowess. Consequently, he established a close-knit circle of friends for the first time. Online communities enable individuals to construct a persona that may diverge from their true selves. Henry Chau portrayed himself as a confident individual, unbound by societal opinions, projecting an image of independence. However, this facade served to conceal his introverted and inhibited nature.
Hello, this is Henry from Hong Kong, and this is my very first video, an introduction video I come up with to YouTube. Originally, I didn't want an introduction video. I want to make a video trying to tell people how to come up with a perfect circle on a piece of A4 sheet paper easily. All you have to do is just 10 or 15 minutes of training on your hand, and you can do it without compasses. This was what I draw today. Take a look. It's true. I didn't use any compasses to do it. Just use my hand and a pen. That's it. Okay. What I want to say, yeah. Another reason I want to upload video to YouTube is that I want to meet new friends. Now, up to this point, you may realize that my English is really weird. That's because I haven't spoken English for like more than 2 years already. So there's some time to brush it up. So I do leave my MSN contact here in case somebody want to talk to me about the circle stuff, or if you just want to tell me to speed up making the second video, okay, you can talk to me. Here's the MSN contact. And some of my friends advised me that, hey Henry, your English sucks. Just have it in Cantonese. I mean, my mother language. Well, I just don't want it. This is heavily against my interest. I want to talk to people all over the world. I mean, not only the local people, but you know, YouTube is a global environment. I just want to use English, so sorry I didn't take your advice. Yeah, so hope everyone welcome me to YouTube. Cheers.
However, there was a perception of falsehood surrounding the grand persona he presented online, particularly in his frequent assertions of being a psychopath. These claims were met with skepticism until the tragic day when he murdered and prepared his own parents as meals. What was the catalyst that led him to brutally end the lives of his own parents? Investigation reveals that the root cause of the incident can be traced back to a heated argument between Henry and his elderly parents, Glory Chau Wing Ki, aged 65, and Moon Siu Yuet Yi, aged 63. His parents insisted that Henry should start working as they were no longer able to financially support him due to their own financial constraints associated with old age. This demand greatly upset Henry, leading him to leave his parents' home. However, instead of taking responsibility for his own life as an adult, Henry meticulously planned the murder of his parents over a period of 3 months. He justified his actions by claiming that his parents deserved to die for abandoning him when they could no longer provide for him as they had done in the past. His cognitive processes appeared significantly detached from actuality, potentially influenced by the multitude of traumas he had experienced since childhood, or by his immersion in the virtual realm of video games. This detachment led him to draft a detailed plan outlining the method by which he would terminate the lives of his parents. The authorities discovered this script concealed beneath his mattress during a search of his residence, conducted after he was implicated as a suspect in the criminal investigation. During the execution of his perverse plan, he focused on acquiring large knives, microwaves, a stove, and multiple refrigerators to store the bodies. Additionally, certain parts of his parents' bodies were chopped and cooked with rice, resembling a dish of barbecued pork. To accomplish his nefarious mission, Henry required not only the aforementioned tools and objects, but also an accomplice to assist in the cold-blooded murder of his parents. He sought out a suitable candidate among his limited circle of friends and identified Angus Se Chun Kai, a man of Macanese descent, as the ideal accomplice. Chau perceived Se as easily influenced, noting his history of multiple suicide attempts dating back to 2010 when he was deceived by a woman he loved in New Zealand. Despite Say's efforts to end his own life through methods such as burning coal, consuming rat poison, and ingesting mercury, his sister intervened in time during each incident, ensuring his survival. These suicide attempts resulted in lasting mental consequences, including memory impairment, which proved advantageous for Henry's plans. His friend, who showed no regard for his own life, would be even less likely to consider harming a third party. Additionally, due to his memory loss condition, which caused him to forget his actions from previous days, he was deemed a suitable accomplice. This made it highly unlikely for him to betray the protagonist in the heinous act of murdering his own parents. Having already acquired the necessary equipment and securing an accomplice, Henry commenced his actions by arranging a meeting with his parents in a secluded location to execute his malevolent plan. On March 1, 2013, Henry lured his parents to his friend's residence under the guise of a reconciliation meal. Deceived by this falsehood, the unsuspecting victims eagerly accepted the invitation, hopeful that the dinner would mark a turning point in their strained relationship with their son. Little did they know, Henry harbored far more sinister intentions, intending to incorporate them into the meal itself. Once the elderly parents arrived, they were unable to settle in comfortably. Upon sitting at the table, Henry and Say promptly assaulted the couple. After the couple was deceased, the men proceeded to dismember their bodies. The heads were stored in the refrigerator, while other body parts were seasoned with salt and various Asian condiments for later cooking on a barbecue. Upon successfully accomplishing his objective, the subsequent course of action involved feigning ignorance regarding his parents and reporting them as missing. Henry, accompanied by his older brother Hoi Lung, visited the police on March 13, 2013, asserting that they had not been in contact with their parents since March 2nd. Chau stated during the report that his parents had mentioned their intention to travel to mainland China before their disappearance. The siblings subsequently established a Facebook page named My Missing Mom and Dad and appealed to their friends and the general public for any information that could help locate their parents. Henry unabashedly reached out to multiple media platforms in an effort to locate his parents. However, the longevity of this theater was short-lived, as everything unfolded more rapidly than anticipated. On March 14, 2013, Henry was summoned to the police station for interrogation. Apple Daily featured articles detailing the Chau brothers' efforts to locate their missing parents. However, while being interrogated, Chau utilized a text message to admit to the offense in a WhatsApp group named HK Tekken that included his friends. Chau provided a detailed account of the murders, including the motives, despite the lack of clarity on his decision to confess the crime after taking measures to conceal it. Consequently, on March 15, 2013, one day following the interview, Chau and his associate Say were formally accused of the murder and dismemberment of Chau's parents at Say's residence in Tai Kok Tu, located at the Hoi Hing building on Koi Chung Street. Following his arrest, Chau, aged 31, proudly declared during a police interview his intention to not only end the lives of his father and mother, but also that of his elder brother, Chau Hoi Ying. If he'd been successful, Henry intended to travel across the continent with his accomplice to partake in sexual assaults and homicides of women and sex workers until their apprehension or demise, as their shared aspiration was to evolve into serial murderers. According to criminologist Lei Ding Qi, serial killers are typically psychopaths who lack empathy for their victims, perceiving them merely as objects. If individuals collaborated in pairs, they typically shared common feelings of animosity or common interests. When a common target was identified, one individual assumed the initiative while the other adhered to instructions. During the interrogation and subsequent investigation, Chau asserted that he and Say had coordinated the attack to take place when they would position themselves at the table, as that was the moment, quote, when they felt prepared. Chau characterized his accomplice, Say, as a, quote, very powerful individual who restrained his father by covering his mouth from behind while he slit his throat. Chau admitted to stabbing his father in the back of the head, but he asserted that Say completed the act by slitting his throat, a finding that was substantiated by the autopsy. Following the perpetrator's report, Chau revisited the crime scene 4 days after the event, at which point Say had already dismembered, salted, and refrigerated all the body parts. Chau characterized his involvement in the double homicide as solely carrying out the killings, whereas Say was assigned the responsibility of dismembering the bodies. According to Chau, he attempted initially to conceal the remains by using bricks coated with cement and sand. However, he subsequently devised a more straightforward strategy that entailed preparing the leftover body parts by cooking them and camouflaging them as char siu, which is roasted pork. The concept aimed to eliminate all traces of the crime by encouraging individuals to consume his deceased parents, thereby transforming them into fertilizer. However, as not all parts of the corpses were suitable for consumption, they opted to bury some portions of the remains in sand before disposing of them in the sea, a practice they followed consistently. During the investigation, the decapitated heads of the 2 victims were discovered inside 2 distinct refrigerators. Additionally, lunchboxes containing microwaved human flesh and 3 bags containing severed limbs and various other body parts were also found. The perpetrators dispersed the remains in various locations to conceal the bodies completely. Some remains were discovered in a waste container, while others were packed in lunchboxes along with rice. When directly questioned about the rationale behind his decision to commit the heinous act of killing his own parents, Henry expressed that his father was, quote, an arrogant man who never allowed him to have a single moment of peace, whereas his mother was, quote, always looking on sadly because he did not contribute to the family. Henry believed that the most effective resolution to address the absence of empathy toward his parents was for them to pass away, enabling his rebirth. He attributed his life failures to his parents, contending that his father's habit of watching loud TV distracted him from his studies, while his mother's insistence on piano practice and public humiliation for mistakes in front of a girl also contributed to his setbacks. However, these justifications do not warrant evading the legal system and the principles of justice. Consequently, Henry was brought before a court of first instance to face trial for his atrocious offense, alongside his accomplice Say, on August 4, 2014. The trial proceedings extended until 2015, and by February of that year, Chau's defense contended that his client bore diminished responsibility for the crime due to his mental instability. In contrast, the prosecution rebutted this claim by asserting that the evidence of the crime indicated Henry's meticulous premeditation of the murder of his parents. Therefore, they argued that his actions were not a result of a mental disorder, but were executed with full intent, warranting punishment for the crime without leniency. Prior to his hearing, Henry stated that he'd been influenced and manipulated by his friend Say. However, this assertion was disregarded following an IQ test administered by Lu Xing-hung, a consultant at Shu Lam Psychiatric Center, on March 9, 2015. The test revealed that Chau had an IQ of 126, which is above average, whereas Say's IQ was 84. Lu contended that Chau, with a higher IQ than Say, could have been the one who manipulated Say into participating in the murder and subsequently framing him. Subsequently, the defense attorney, Nicholas Adams, summoned psychiatrist Chung Kai-Fai to testify. Chung diagnosed Chau with bipolar disorder and obsessive-compulsive disorder. He stated that Chau encountered many ideations subsequent to facing rejection from romantic partners. In addition to the observation that Chau exhibited self-centered behavior, a lack of compassion toward others, and a tendency to shift blame onto others for his actions, the psychiatrist also noted that Chau had high expectations. He isolated himself within his own fantasy world, as his actual life was characterized by a series of failures. Despite his actions of planning and carrying out the brutal murder of his parents, Henry did not exhibit signs of mental illness. Psychiatrist Dr. Lu Xing-hung, who had 30 consultations with him, concluded that Henry had a personality disorder characterized by narcissistic and psychopathic traits. However, the doctor did not find any psychiatric conditions that could justify or explain his criminal behavior. Ultimately, the trial evolved into a confrontation between the two individuals responsible for the crime, with Say refuting any involvement in the murder of the couple and the subsequent dismemberment of the bodies. He asserted that his awareness of the couple's demise only occurred when Chau presented him with the dismembered body parts, expressing his belief that a person named Ah Kin had assisted Chau in the act of murder. Say ultimately disclosed that Chau had made threats to harm his mother unless he complied, and proceeded to package the human remains as per Chau's directive, subsequently disposing of them in the sea on March 12. However, investigations revealed that Say's background was not significantly different from that of his friend Chau. Say was raised in a tightly knit, single-parent household, where his mother served as the primary provider for him and his sister. Say, a reserved individual with limited cognitive abilities, possessed an IQ of 84 and performed poorly in all subjects during his school examinations. His sister mentioned that individuals could earn his trust by extending an invitation for a meal. The psychologist characterized Say as a reserved individual who readily complied with commands when faced with threats, a vulnerability that Chau exploited to enlist him as an accomplice. However, both Chau and Say shared a common experience of romantic failure. Chau had only a few casual girlfriends on the mainland, yet none of these relationships endured. He had limited interpersonal relationships and made a suicide attempt following the departure of a girlfriend who had depleted his financial resources. He subsequently entered into matrimony with an Indonesian woman. However, on the evening of their nuptials, he discovered that his spouse was already married and in a relationship with another man in their shared place of origin. According to investigations, Chau and Say met while they were employed at the same company. They reunited in 2010 following Say's unsuccessful suicide endeavor. When contemplating suicide in September 2012, Chau confided in Say about his life's shortcomings. Chau disclosed his failures to him and subsequently steered their discussions towards his malevolent and homicidal aspiration of becoming a serial killer. He encouraged Say to join him in becoming a serial killer to retaliate against others for his personal frustrations. According to the testimonies of some of his friends, it was reported that Chau harbored Nazi ideologies, evidenced by his use of Adolf Hitler's image as an icon on his MSN account and other social networking platforms. Moreover, his brother observed that he appeared to be engrossed in his own thoughts and exhibited a penchant for influencing others. Upon revisiting the criminal association between Chau and Say, it was discovered that the duo initiated their planning through MSN Messenger in early 2013. Analysis revealed that Chau predominantly led the discussions. Approximately a month after they departed from their parental residence, they jointly compiled a list of tools and potential techniques for extracting blood and dismembering a body, which were documented in a notebook. This serves as evidence indicating that the perpetrators had meticulously premeditated the criminal assault. Upon presentation of all evidence and testimonies from witnesses, on March 20, 2015, the sentencing procedure was conducted. Deputy Superior Court Judge Michael Stewart Moore convicted Chau of 2 counts of murder, imposing a life sentence for the murders. Additionally, Chau received a sentence of 9 years and 4 months for obstructing the lawful burial of his parents. Moore characterized Chau as a narcissist solely focused on fantasies of success, lacking empathy for others, including his own family members. The judge acquitted his accomplice, Say, of both murder charges. Chau received a life imprisonment sentence, where Say was sentenced to 1 year for obstructing the lawful burial of the bodies. As Say had already been detained for 2 years in pretrial detention, he was promptly released. Chau was transferred to a maximum security prison and asserted that his intention was to deceive the police in order to have time to bid farewell to his friends before incarceration. Simultaneously, he sought to evade imprisonment by collaborating with his accomplice in the murder to transform the case into a missing persons investigation, while they systematically disposed of their victims' bodies. The perverse and atrocious case, which surpassed fiction in its reality, was not merely concluded with the sentencing, but also served as a source of inspiration for various audiovisual productions. The case was adapted into 2 episodes of the Chinese-language miniseries Stained in 2017. The case was also adapted into TVB's 2018 anniversary drama OMG, Your Honor, and a film titled The Sparring Partner in 2022. Directed by Ho Chuk-tin and produced by Philip Young, the film premiered at the 46th Hong Kong International Film Festival and was subsequently released in theaters on October 27, 2022. Works that provide insight into the mind of a murderous psychopath, while also prompting contemplation on our methods of child-rearing, highlight the potential consequences of misguided parenting. These works suggest that instead of nurturing individuals of moral integrity, we may inadvertently foster individuals with monstrous tendencies. Such individuals may emerge due to parental imposition of desires over the child's own, or through the creation of dependency by fulfilling every whim, only to later withdraw support, leading to feelings of resentment. This resentment may stem from the misconception that withholding material possessions equates to a lack of love. Therefore, it is crucial to carefully consider one's approach to parenting to prevent the transformation of children into malevolent beings capable of inflicting harm. That concludes today's video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. And if you wish to continue exploring criminal cases like this, I encourage you to subscribe and ring the notification bell to stay updated on additional shocking cases we have in store for you. We'll see you for the next video.